It's nice to have a chance to talk to you about my book, Loose Puck, Nice Bags. It just talks about, my experience in coaching, some of the things that I've learned throughout the years. One of the chapters I want to talk about this morning is Forecheck Smart, for all and all for one. To me, forechecking, if it's collaborative and collective, you've got a chance to be successful. But it really takes 5 men to be effective. It's not effective without all 5 players being involved in it. If you look at all forechecking systems that are commonly used in hockey, there's 3 things that I think are 3 things in common. They all have 3 layers of support. Every forechecking system, at the moment of when they confront the attack, you'll see that there's usually 3 layers of pressure, and that really is important. To be effective in forechecking, I can't stress enough how much it's important you've got to read the opposition, but you've also got to read your teammates, because if you don't, you're going to find there'll be some hesitation, some duplication, and then you won't be effective. And it's really frustrating when that happens. So it does take that ability to read each other as much as you read the opposition. Obviously, when you're talking about forechecking, the word anticipation has to come up. And without a doubt, that ability to be one play ahead with your vision and your thinking is really, really critical. And so always you talk about anticipation. That's getting your eyes up as you enter the zone, trying to figure out what the puck carrier's intentions might be. And really important to get first F1 pressure is really, really important to the forecheck. One thing I always talk about when I talk about forechecking, and in the book about this, the length of the first pass often tells you whether you can pressure it yourself if you're F1, or do you have to get replacement? Somebody else is closer, so they move and pressure, and you recover and replace. And that's an important aspect of forechecking: pressure, recover, replace. And the length of the pass often determines that aspect of the forecheck. If you look at the first layer, F1, any forechecking system, you want to stop the puck. You want to stop the puck carrier or stop the puck. Obviously, it's both sometimes, but you want to get enough quick pressure to stop the puck. So a couple of things that are important: skate, don't ski. Move your feet. You won't always create a turnover or strip the man from the puck, obviously, but you have to measure forechecking from the point of view of hurries. If you make the other team hurry their first play, there's a pretty good chance it might be a bad pass. It might be an inaccurate pass. You're forcing the puck carrier's eyes down if you're there quick. And anytime you can get that first man with the puck on the puck, you get the puck carrier's eyes down, you have a chance to create that turnover, that loose puck you're looking for. Obviously, when you talk about F1, angling, use of stick, those are important aspects, and I do talk about that. The second layer of the forecheck, no matter what system you use, one important thing is don't be late. If you're late to the party, that first layer gets really frustrated. They've forced a first play. It's not a great pass, whatever, but if you're late, F2 or second layer, that's a real problem, because anytime you give time to the opposition on the breakout, they're going to make a good play. So if F1's got hip pocket pressure, in other words, he's right on that guy's tail, the second layer's got to tighten their gaps up and close up a little bit, because you're anticipating he's got this guy in trouble. This guy's not going to have a good play, and I'm going to jump on that first pass possibly. So that's really, really important. And again, anticipation. Sometimes the puck carrier's last look is where he's going to pass the puck. So always be alert to that. Again, move your feet, and always try to be moving as the pass is made, not after the pass. It doesn't seem like much, but if you're moving as the pass is being made, you'll get there more often and you'll be effective. If you're always moving after the pass is being made, that second or two difference usually causes the breakout to be able to make a quality exit pass, and suddenly you're not going to get it done. The third layer of the forecheck, it's really important. That usually involves some defenseman, could be a forward as well there, but you got to move up ice, follow the attack, follow that. If it's a shoot in, if the puck gets deep, you got to follow it up. And it's often termed pre-pinch position. I like to call it pre-pressure position. So you're up in a pre-pressure position inside the blue line. Again, you're anticipating, you're trying to read what that first pass might be or the second pass might be. And you're getting ready to move your feet and jump as quick as you can. You always, in the third layer, have to check, do you have cover? If you're going to jump up and actively participate in the forecheck, do you have that cover you need? So you always got to check the inside of the ice. Is there, for example, a high forward? Is your partner slid across for you? So you have to be alert that you have cover. And then by being up in pre-pressure position, if that man you're pressuring chips the puck off the boards behind you into the neutral zone, because you're up quick and close, you can legally eliminate the man. And that's important. Yes, you're trapped, but if you can legally eliminate the other man, everything is pretty good. So forechecking to me is all for one and one for all. It's very collaborative. It takes 5 people doing it. And in this chapter, I talk about lots of the reads and small things that make it work. Again, forechecking is hard work. It's anticipation. It's skating, not skiing. Those are the facts that make it work. Okay. Okay, Wally.
Well, that's really good stuff.
Sorry about my throat, Wall.
No problem.
Okay. Okay, so Wally, we'll start now, and I'm gonna work on cycling.
Okay.
I've got some thoughts on that. Okay. Okay, the next part of my presentation here is I have a chapter in my book about the space behind the puck in the offensive zone. And that's usually open space. No one ever covers the space behind the puck. They usually cover the space in front of the puck, in the direction the puck is moving. So years ago, I can remember being in Maple Leaf Gardens watching the Leafs practice. And I saw Lanny McDonald, Errol Thompson, and Darryl Sittler just fooling around after practice in the corner. They were cycling and moving and just reversing the puck to the space behind, reverse the puck again to the space behind, make a play to the shot. And so I thought to myself, that's really interesting, because back in the 70s and the 80s, there was so much tackling, hooking and holding allowed, that in the defensive zone, it was really hard to create things because the rules were very lax. The referees didn't call a lot. And so that meant you had to do one thing. You had to find a way to keep moving. A moving target is way harder to check than a stationary target. So the idea of using that space behind the puck as an automatic play when you're under pressure. Obviously, when you've got the puck, you're retrieving a puck in the corner offensively. Check your shoulder. Wow, the same as a defenseman going back on a breakout. Check your shoulder. Where's the first checker coming from? That's really, really important to always know what your first play is before you get to the puck. Now, the space behind the puck usually means the man turns down the corner or up the corner. The second man, or the closest support man, slides into that space behind the puck, or he's ready to, if the man reverses the puck. And so that's where cycling came from. And initially, cycling was really interesting because it was a 3-man activity. And in the 70s, it was almost exclusively forwards. Then, when the NHL changed the rules in about 1999, 2000, they brought in 2 referees. They brought in 0 tolerance. and they also moved the blue lines back 4 feet. So suddenly the offensive zone was bigger. So initially we had 3 forwards still cycling. The defense once in a while would participate. But then we kind of realized, with the referees calling the game the way they were, you didn't often need 2 forwards to support. So cycling became a 2-forward activity, and then 1 defenseman would activate, and maybe the other one as well. But it became more of a 2-man activity than it was at one time 3 forwards in the cycle. Now, when the rules changed like that, what happened is everybody decided to anchor 1 forward in front of the net to occupy that defenseman, always give you traffic on any low to high plays that led to point shots. It also gave you a player who could slide down to the back of the net. And if the puck carrier who was cycling couldn't find a play, he could reverse the puck to the space behind the puck to the back of the net, and that man who anchored the front could get to it. So it was very effective, and it still is. And of course, now we activate the D so much more. And I think that's been really interesting in the game, is the fact that the defensemen are really expected now. Offensive zone play, it's like forechecking. It's a 5-man activity. And as you can see, the whole game is getting that way. Attack through the neutral zone is a 5-man activity. The game is played by 5 players. So almost every activity, you should look to try to utilize 5 players in the attack. One of the things that's really important in cycling is for the man with the puck who retrieves the puck, as I said, check your shoulder and don't let them stop the puck by getting close to you, getting a pin, because once the puck stops moving, usually offensive zone play soon ends. So you want to be strong on the puck, protect the puck, keep your feet moving, check your shoulder, and retrieve that puck, and be thinking about exploding left or right, but try to keep moving. Don't let the opposition stop the puck. If they stop the puck, what happens? They soon shrink the zone, compress the area, and then you've got nothing. So on cycling, it's really important. You cycle low, and you always look to make plays inside to the slot or to the net front or low to high to the point, but don't force it. Try to make constructive plays. And when in doubt, usually you make a play to that low man who's anchoring in front, you bump it down, and he slides to the back of the net. It's effective play. If the puck is turned over there, the other team is 200 feet away from your net, and you've got usually 5 players on the defensive side of the puck. So cycling is a really interesting activity. And it's interesting in the game now that the defensemen are expected to attack as much as the forwards attack. So the next innovation was bringing the D in. You know, the high roller, the high cycle play, the forward cycling up, the D cycles down, or the D pops, slip and slide, he pops inside for a quick little play in a little crease. Those kind of plays, one D might slide in, the other D slides across the point. So now you get really good 5-man activity, and it makes D-zone coverage much more difficult. There's more decisions to be made, and it makes switches harder to accomplish. So now you see with the offensive zone play, because you can't hook and hold and tackle, there's much more speed to it. So it's quite an effective tactic, and a lot of goals start off cycling down low. So that's a really important part of offense. My university team, we started that in the 70s, doing that a lot. And we just found in small rinks it was really effective. It allowed us to play puck control. It allowed us to draw a lot of penalties on the other team. When you protect the puck and you're moving, you know, teams get a little impatient. The cycle's going too long. They're defending too long. Fatigue sets in. A guy hooks or holds or grabs, and suddenly you're on the power play. So really a good activity as to be part of your offense is the idea of cycling. And again, in those days we called it the space behind the puck cycling. And I can remember coaching Marcel Dion And we used to call those areas behind the puck the quiet zones. And Marcel Dion, he said, no, coach, those are not the quiet zones. Those are the hospital zones because you're in the corner with lots of traffic. So a little story for you there on cycling. Okay, Wally?
Super.
Okay. I'm just going to have a little drink here, Wall. My voice
Go
is...
ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry about that today.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting as you talk.
Yep.
Of course, all we do is observe the changes in the game today. Our generation of not
Yes.
coaches,
Mhm.
so we get to watch it, and we've talked about all these things and where the game's going. And I just got one question: how would you defend? Because back in our day, that's all we really had to focus on. But how would you defend today's offense? And the debate is: do you play five-man, man-on-man? Because the offense looks like it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the interchange of D and forwards. But how would you defend more effectively today? What would you suggest?
Well, it's really interesting because when you get 5 men active and you get, say, a forward cycling high and a D from the point going down low, do you want to end up defensively with a D man at the point and your forward playing the net front? Some teams don't mind that, but you're not usually in the most comfortable position. Defensemen tend to play well in front of the net. They don't really very often cover a guy who stops at the point. So a lot of teams have gone a lot more. At one time, when teams started the cycle, the D who jumped that man or the forward who jumped that man would, first of all, get close and quick right away. Try to keep the puck carrier's eyes down. Then you had to make some choices at the top of the circles. Would the man stay with this fellow if the D came down, or would they switch? And some teams still play a switch, Wally, and play some combination of man-to-man and zone defense. Teams in Russia who play this so much now with the bigger zones, the wider rink, they play man-to-man. They're prepared to have a defenseman follow a guy right up to the blue line. So really, it's your choice. We're seeing more and more now, though. A lot of times it's 3 players kind of man-to-man, and the other 2 players playing more zonal coverage. So it's a combination of man-to-man and zonal coverage that make it work.
I have a question related to that. Back in the day when I was involved with the women and coming into the women's game with the experience of working with you and the national team, and the idea of playing in a small rink, I always advocated, no, the D doesn't want to run out at the point.
Yeah.
And with the women particularly, because we didn't want to take them that far up the ice, being taken out of important spaces. So the rule that I applied with them was finish the check F1 or D1, man on the puck area. The most important part is that man on.
Yep.
As soon as it changes, there's another man on.
Mm-hmm.
But finish the check before the hash mark.
Yes.
That was sort of a rule of thumb that I wrote into it, and it worked for us, in that time period. But there's no longer the transition from small to big ice, but maybe there is. When you look at world championships today, are they playing them in big ice or small ice? And it makes coaching more fun, more challenging, but you really have to be tuned into everything you're talking about here. So,
and Wally, that's a good rule you had there, because if you can finish your check and get that guy close to the boards, that player close to the boards, stopped, it's one-on-one, so everybody else can read off that. It's when the guy has got separation and you can't close on him and get him close to the boards and actually pin him or hold him temporarily there. That's when coverage gets difficult. And now the D come in inside, we call it slip and slide, or they come down behind the puck carrier along the boards. We call it a high roller. Plays like that are so difficult to defend. Number one thing is if you communicate, you do sort it out. So if you choose to play man to man, as long as you communicate, I got him, I got puck, the other guy knows, things work out. It's when you don't communicate that sometimes you have issues. And like you did, a lot of teams have little rules like that that help to sort out the coverage. And that's really smart coaching.
Good, Dave. I'm just keeping track of the times here for editing. That's excellent.
Okay, I'm going to do one more, Wally. Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. There's a chapter in my book. It's called You Defend to Attack. And that title to me kind of tells it all for players. If you defend well, you're good one-on-one, you play collectively, you're all kind of connected in what you're doing. You're going to turn the puck over on the other team and you're going to have the puck. So good defense leads to good offense. That's an old expression, but it's so true. So when I talk about you defend to attack, I like my defending team to be, if you've got some things in place to try to be active. The trouble with defensive play is sometimes you have numbers, sometimes you don't. So there's always going to be situations where you can be aggressive, and then sometimes you got to be in more contained, more passive. And that's the exciting part about playing the game, is being able to read those situations and make the right choice. But when you defend to attack, you'd like to be disruptive, but organized. So that's the balance you're trying to achieve. You want to disrupt that offense. You want to make their plays difficult, but you're organized in what you're doing. And that's really, really important. So here's 4 things that I think are the key to defensive play. Okay, so when you defend to attack, when you defend defensively, here's 4 important points. Number 1, it is, again, 5-man active. You have to be connected. How are you connected? Well, you're connected by communication. As long as you read the opposition and your teammates, you stay connected. When you fail to do either one, that's a problem. You become disconnected. So to be connected, you need to communicate and you need to read each other as much as you read the opposition. When that happens, you will be always disruptive but organized. Number 2, numbers. Numbers is really important because if you have numbers on the defensive side of the puck, usually you're going to be in pretty good situation. When you have numbers with good awareness, it's even better. So you've got people on the defensive side of the puck, their head are on a swivel, they're observing the progress the puck carrier is making. That's really what you want to get to. And mistakes will be made. Always in the game, mistakes will be made. Players occasionally will get beat one-on-one. One of the keys, though, is balance in positioning. Balance in positioning is the way you rectify or snuff out. Sometimes when a player gets defeated one-on-one, it's that balance in positioning that allows things to sort out, and it allows you to cover a greater area. If you have balance to your defense, you can cover more area. It's really important, though, you still have active sticks. Your head's on a swivel. You're always aware of what's happening away from the puck and what's happening on the puck. Okay, that's really important. The third thing is gaps and separation. That reduces the acceleration space from the attacker. So if you can get close and stay close in defensive zone coverage, or you can play up tight gap in the neutral zone on the rush, you take away acceleration space. You force the attack to play a little bit slower, and that's to the defender's productivity. Obviously, speed is hard to defend against, so the less speed they have, the more chance you have of being successful. Another thing about gaps and separation is when you have close pressure on the puck, as I said earlier in other presentations, you force the puck carrier's eyes down. And suddenly when his eyes down, he can't make those penetrating plays that often can really hurt you. They might be there, but because his eyes are down, he can't find that play. So it's really important that you always get close. And that's why we often talk about, whether it be neutral zone or defensive zone, stick on puck. Because if you get close, stay close, stick on puck, you make passes into the danger areas much more difficult. The fourth thing is, you need layers of support behind pressure. Doesn't matter whether you're playing in the neutral zone, you're forechecking in the offensive zone, or you're playing in the defensive zone. You do have layers of support in the game. So anytime you have cover, you check and you have cover, you can now be aggressive. If you don't have cover, sometimes then you got to be a little more cautious, a little bit more contained. But anytime you read you have cover, you can be aggressive. And again, it's always important to realize that anytime the puck moves and changes directions, the length of the pass often tells you whether you should stay with the role as the guy pressuring, or should you turn it over to somebody else who's closer, and you recover and you go from pressuring to covering so they can go and put pressure on. And that interchange, that's collaboration. That's being connected. So anytime you watch a team play defensively well, you'll see when that pressure recovery place is there, you get close and stay close, your gaps and your separation is tight, you will have very effective defending. So again, when you defend to attack, it's always the same thing. It's being collective and being connected, numbers on the defensive side of the puck, gaps and separation, layers of support behind pressure, recognizing that allows you to be aggressive. When you don't have it, then you got to be more stalling, more containing. Sometimes you don't pressure a man, you control an area, and those are the reads you gain with experience. So I think that defending is now become quite consistent. Most teams defend very, very well. Expectations now for players are more and more, they want players that play 200 feet. And so the game now is becoming more difficult to score because the defensive play is so much better. It's so much closer. And it's making scoring goals a challenge. That's why we have to activate the D. You have to also allow your top offensive players to take more risks sometimes. And obviously, every zone out from your own net, you can play more aggressively. You can have more risk to your game. In your defensive zone, no risk. Neutral zone, not too much. In the offensive zone, you got to encourage some risk if you want to score. So that's a chapter in my book called You Defend to Attack.
Have you got time for a question or two?
Oh, sure, Walt.
Okay. Great stuff, Dave. I always think back to our day and how we had to defend our end. And it wasn't until I actually became a coach, as opposed to just a skills coach,
Yeah,
with the national women,
yeah,
that I sort of took the responsibility of defensive play, particularly in our zone. And I sort of think of this as the evolution of the game. It relates to your presentation, but I came up with this coaching the Japanese women playing superior teams. You had me coach in the Olympics. It was thanks to you, I got that opportunity. Team Japan playing USA, and Canada was a challenge. So basically, I used the concept of penalty kill with 5.
yes.
And it created frustration. We were able to sustain leads, and it was effective.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got the national women's team playing the U.S., that's not the way to play. You've got to play them, I think, up front or ahead of them and really pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But learning to read and react. My role with the women's team in terms of scouting and development after 2002 was to educate the programs of excellence in every province so that they understood what you had taught, what I had learned, and what I learned from the women's experience. So I introduced a simple progression for D zone cover, and it's literally man on, box behind.
Yep.
The difference between that and box plus one is really important.
Yep.
Because when you don't have a man on, you have no defense. And the essence of getting that pressure. And it morphed into man on with the first player, stick on with the second, halfway with the third, which was your rule.
Yep.
And of course, we sagged.
Yep.
Definitely down. And whether you take the point away or whether you play inside, outside wall, those things, are the debate. So I today in the term that's been used is swarm.
Yes.
If they have one, you have two. If they have two, you have three. If they have three, you have four. And I see that fairly common. If I'm sure you've heard of that term, and I wonder how you regard that. It's sort of like less reading and reacting.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sitting back and swiveling your head so much as you are outnumbering them quickly when they're stopped. Can you comment on that?
In defensive zone coverage, the key is to stop the puck. If you can get it even minimized into a small area, that allows the man checking the puck carrier to get close and real close. And then what happens is players off the puck can shrink that area and cut off passing lanes. And some people call it swarm, some call it shrink, but it just means to compress an area. But it's all based upon, can I stop the puck carrier? And the second thing is, do I have him facing the glass? Because if I've got him facing the glass, then you can really shrink the zone quickly, really give their offensive team difficulty finding passing lanes and passing options. But so one of the keys in defensive coverage is, once you close and stay close, can you get the person with the puck in a puck protection mode where they're facing the glass? If you can achieve that, that's what you can do. And I can remember watching your Japanese ladies play, Wally, and that was something they did pretty well, was to get the puck carrier facing the glass, or at least stick on puck. They made plays inside difficult to achieve, and you have to do those kind of things when you're coaching a team that's outmatched like you were. But coverage now has changed quite a bit. We get long cycles now that last sometimes 35, 40 seconds because of the larger zones, and zero tolerance, no clutching and grabbing, two referee system. All those things have made D-zone coverage a little less aggressive, and it gives an advantage to the offense, and that's why we get these long shifts. And all we do is much like you were doing, Wally, teams kind of sag inside. When they're tired, protect the inside. If it goes to the point, at one time the forwards were asked to occasionally block shots. Now it's guaranteed. You got to get in the shot lane. That's not a nice to do thing. It's a necessary thing. So D-zone coverage has changed quite a bit.
I just wanted to comment. I don't know if you get. Well, we watched the teams in Canada play last night. Toronto shut out the last two games without their best player and without two starting goalies. They had two consecutive shutouts, and I've been abreast from the get-go, largely because talking to Daryl and reconnecting with him, working as a skills coach and what he does. But their D-zone cover, I've recorded the game, and I'm going to be editing how they back check so hard. And the back checking of other teams, and particularly the Flames. And I always watch back checking when I scouted. I looked at the back check to evaluate two traits. Number one, their skating ability. Were they coming hard, and were they banging the ice? Were they accelerating as they came back? Could they skate? You can really tell, because they've got to go 100 miles an hour. And the other thing you evaluate is their character to come back and commit and be intelligent. And they're doing that better than any team right now. And it's a perfect example of the mentality at that league level of committing to a 200-foot game and being really intelligent. I'm just
Yeah,
so impressed with the game today. So,
I would
and
agree, Wally. When I watch the Leafs play the Oilers, the back pressure, back checking is very, very impressive. And what I saw was something very subtle. When you have a guy like McDavid who's fast like that, maybe you're not going to catch him, but you force him to skate at full speed. And he literally sometimes outskates his own teammates. And so for when he crosses the blue line, sometimes he's a little isolated because he's so bloody fast. You've pushed him to be faster. You've allowed your D to play reasonable gap. And so all of a sudden, it's a way to not snuff him out, but reduce his effectiveness, which is not easy to do. But the Leafs' back pressure really was effective. And as I said, it looked to me like at times McDavid simply outskated his own teammates. So he crossed the blue line and there was 1-on-2, 1-on-3. And you can't go east-west when you cross the blue line with back pressure. You have to continue to keep going north. And at least it gives the defender an idea that you're probably going to be playing outside speed. And you can anticipate that a little bit and gain that half a second or two that allows you to play his drive skating with success.
no, great points. Now, listen, I'm hoping you can join us on Sharks tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
No,
if you are, I am trying to get a hold of Daryl Belfry to join us as well.
mhm.
And I believe Tim is putting together 2 video links.
Yeah.
And one is probably going to be an NHL clip,
Mhm.
and the other one would be a Team USA clip, or maybe a Professional Women's League clip, so that in my role with
Yeah.
with the female game, I always felt we had to do what the men could do, and we can do that now.
Yeah.
And so, from an evolution and skill tactical point of view, there's a lot of learning to be had there. But if you guys get on,
Mhm.
I'm going to deliberately try to morph the discussion to knowing what, he respects you so much and me so much because we were the era that he took coaching certification in.
Yeah.
And that was, I think we taught coaches to think
Yeah.
on their own back in that era
Yeah.
and to teach and to break down and to analyze. And so if the two of you got on, it would just be it's sort of a goal of mine to see if I can get the two minds together and see where they go with it on the Sharks. Because there's a lot of great hockey people on there that played the game
Yeah.
in a different generation,
Yes, that's right.
but who watched the game like I can't believe it, Dave. When they look at video and break it down, it's amazing. Like
Yeah.
I cannot see 1/4 of what Tim Bothwell says or Morris Lukovich says
Yeah.
offensively for Morris and Tim
Yeah.
defensively. So you and I were detailed guys,
Mhm.
but one person who hasn't coached Morris
Yeah.
is so detailed on the idea of scoring and how to create more space and time. And that appears to be Daryl's focus totally with the team of creating ice space with the puck.
Right.
And just looking forward to that. But this is great stuff, Dave. I'm probably going to edit in 3 segments, one for
Yeah.
each one. The
Okay.
time limit is, the problem with these things, throwing out the whole 35-minute thing,
Yeah.
trying to promote it doesn't work. But throwing out little things like in 3 chunk size things,
Yeah.
this is going to really be effective. And I had a good talk with Andy about the mission statement exercise.
Yeah.
And it's still 1990 when we put that together. That's all I'm really living for these days, is to see that becomes embedded in the education of coaches going up the ladder.
That would be great, Wally. So listen, Wally, Old Sharks is that Thursday.
Yeah,
That's the day after tomorrow. And what time, Wally?
8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. I'm just making sure I got that. Okay. Yeah. I'll be there, Wall. Sorry about my voice.
No, well, no problem. But we'll even get. I knowing I'm going to be working on this video. I'll talk about our interview some of the things that you highlighted, and I'm sure it'll lead to discussion and some input on your book. And it's all good stuff. And I'll see if Daryl will join, because
Yeah.
the thing, he's in the trenches, not
Yeah.
as a coach. What a unique position, sort of like I was with you.
Yes, that's right.
And being able to feed off what you were doing and try to satisfy needs that they needed
Yeah.
individually, and it was a unique thing. On the ethical piece, I released a 13-minute video by Daryl talking about how embarrassed he was about how he coached when he was coaching youth hockey, running an association as a 24-year-old, and how he just shortened the bench and just denied development.
Yeah.
So he's
Good
come
stuff,
full circle on that one, and I think it's something that we've had to live through, and Andy has had to live through and deal with over time, which hopefully we can change and prevent. So, Dave, you have a good day. What's the temperature out there today?
It's Fahrenheit 77. Sorry,
well, we're about 40 degrees, so it's pretty good today. Good.
No, that's great, Wal.
Snow's melting. So, Dave, thanks very much, and you have a good day. And
same with you, Wal. Thanks.
You're welcome. Take care, buddy.
Again, apologies for the voice.
No apologies needed. It's still distinguishable, discernible, recordable, and promotable. It's outstanding. Thank you.
Okay, Wal. Take care. Thanks, Wal.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.